Today, we're going to explore a movie that is based on true events. This movie is about a mother who crossed all limits to save her children. The Deliverance appears to be that dramatized account of true events Ammons was attached to. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin. The Deliverance 2024 movie explored. Speculation suggests the movie moved out of Indiana in favor of a Pittsburgh location, perhaps because Pennsylvania offered a better tax credit. I can't come up with a reason why The Deliverance is set in 2011 when the Ammons family was actually affected in 2014, though, because what difference do those 3 years make? The main names are changed too. Even though LaToya Ammons has an associate producer credit and epilogue text devoted to her. It's bizarre for the filmmakers to alter inconsequential facts to render true story identifiers extinct, yet keep themselves chained to the tedious domestic drama behind it all, when they could have been far more entertaining with something totally original instead. Ebony Jackson has it hard. Since her estranged husband is overseas in Iraq, she's effectively a single mother. With her teenage son Nate, teenage daughter Shantae, and youngest son Andre, she just moved from Philly to Pittsburgh into a rundown home infested with flies, strange smells, and a dead cat rotting in the basement. Her difficult mother Alberta moved in as well, as if Ebony didn't already have her hands full. They're literally full too, as she's illustrated as a multitask master furiously folding laundry while her shoulder pins a persistent creditor's phone call to her annoyed ear. It's no wonder Ebony drinks. Alcohol isn't an excuse for her abusive actions, although it is a chief reason why she's short-tempered with her children and plays a part in physically punishing her underprivileged kids. When mom isn't laying hands on them, neighborhood corner boys bully both brothers. Meanwhile, sister Shantae commiserates with their disappeared dad through text typed out on a cell phone's broken screen. For homebound movie night, everyone watches that favorite family classic, Valley of the Dolls. The Jacksons watch it so often, Nate and Andre quietly laugh at the ladies reciting each line from memory while doing each other's hair. Even that ends in an argument, however, as does a birthday party where Ebony imbibes too much booze and Andre's increasingly odd behavior finally comes out in the open. After an incredibly indulgent 40 minutes of setting up this stereotypical scenario, approximately 30 minutes longer than any average viewer needs to understand this is a put-upon family living in poverty. A smack to its skull reminds The Deliverance it's supposed to include supernatural horror in its overserved helping of maudlin melodrama. Ebony finds Andre banging his face against the cellar door. He says an invisible man named Trey tells him to do bad things. And if there's anything we know about common fright film tropes, it's that imaginary friends are definitely a doorway to danger. At this point, there's still a full hour to go in the movie. Empty minutes aren't going to fill themselves. And there are only so many scenes we can stomach where everyone calls each other bitch over and over again. So The Deliverance fills in that space with secondary characters who don't serve any critical functions. Omar Epps is high in the credits, but low on the on-screen totem pole as the partner in a go-nowhere romance with Glenn Close, who may or may not have been originally written to be a white woman for a total of 2 scenes. Monique gets more real estate as a DCS caseworker who's consistently concerned about Ebony's children. Yet when one looks back on what she actually does in the film, you'll see only momentary bumps in the road without her becoming a true obstacle for Ebony or a facilitator of freedom for the kids. Taking longer than any other parent in this familiar cinematic conflict, Ebony eventually accepts her son is demonically possessed and turns to a woman for help. The woman isn't a priest. She's a self-proclaimed apostle, prophet, evangelist, who goes where God sends her, whatever that means. Not being part of the church, she can't perform an exorcism. She can perform the Deliverance, which is basically the same thing, just with extra mumbo-jumbo about Jesus Christ being the intercessor summoned to cast out demonic influence. Cue the standard scenes of growling and deep voices, contorting backwards, levitating, etc. If you've seen it in any other exorcism movie, you'll see it here, too. On the surface, one might think the movie's message about Jesus being both the salvation and the salve for fixing a fractured family provides an honorable ending. except it ignores reality for Ebony to rescue her family not by accepting responsibility for her role in creating their situation, but to gift her with a shortcut by having a sudden renewal of faith save the day. Director Lee Daniels initially keeps some of the violence affecting the siblings ambiguous. Maybe Ebony beats her kids in drunken stupors. Maybe something unseen behind a closed door is at fault. That's a problematic suggestion in its own right. But Daniels makes matters worse when his movie definitively declares a demon unfairly targeted the family for no real reason other than they moved into the wrong house at the wrong time. I'll say the same thing about The Deliverance that I said about Demon House. In presenting a poor family confronting emotional trauma, cyclical patterns of abuse, and dire dynamics inside a house whose dilapidated condition contributes to declining health, it's in poor taste at best and irresponsible at worst to pin the blame on an imaginary being rather than the true causes of domestic violence and impoverished living. The Deliverance is already clunkily constructed as a routine drama populated by people the plot doesn't need, haphazardly shoehorned horror elements recycled from dozens of other demonic possession yarns, and characterizations that are cartoonish for how aggressively exaggerated they are. Thoughtless takeaways only add to the bad flavor left in your mouth, made worse by the nearly 2 hours it takes to grimacingly gulp everything down.